Okay, welcome to May 14th webinar hosted by GradLeaders. This is a SOAS webinar titled Life After the Game, and this is Chelsea Gold from GradLeaders. I'll be running the technology today, and as a reminder, please submit your questions through the chat feature that you see on your screen. Do not use the Q&A feature. Once again, please use the chat feature. Thank you very much. And I'd like to introduce the Wake Forest team. They will be running the show today. Patrick Sullivan and Heidi Robinson are from the Wake Forest University Office of Personal and Career Development. And Ashley Wechter is from the Wake Forest University Athletic Department. So pending that their microphone is working, I'm going to pass it on over to them.
Chelsea, thank you so much. As she mentioned, my name is Patrick. I'm the liaison to the Wake Forest University Athletic Department from the OPCD for short. I've been on the staff at Wake Forest for right around 20 years, and I'm really grateful to everybody for joining us this afternoon. In recent years, my colleagues and I have worked hard to reinvent the student-athlete career development experience here on our campus. And two of our goals today are to help you identify, one, to help you identify the elements of a successful collaboration, and two, help you determine who your partners in this collaboration should be. I'm really happy to have two amazing colleagues with me today, Ashley Wechter and Heidi Robinson. I'll let Ashley tell you a little bit more about herself.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Wechter. I am the Assistant Athletic Director and overseeing our Student Athlete Development Department. I was actually a former student athlete at Wake Forest. I was a track and field and cross country runner, went on to intern with the ACC office, worked with Disney Sports for approximately 3 years, and then the NCAA. So I'm really excited to share some of my insight that I've had over the past 12 years being in the working world and now being back as one of the athletic directors at Wake Forest. Heidi?
Oh, thank you, Ashley, and thank you, everybody who's attending. Yes, my name is Heidi Robinson. I was hired by Andy Chan, our Vice President of Personal and Career Development here at Wake in 2010. I've had the pleasure of building a college to career 4-credit course and curriculum, and also the Director of Career Education and Training over here in the OPCD. We're really excited to talk about this because we have actually seen this partnership truly bear fruit. In fact, one of the places that we'd like to start is by showing you what we would call tangible evidence of this partnership between our office and the office or the Department of Athletics. So let's tune into a little ESPN.
The level of football that's being played right now in the spring is a lot better than where we've been at any point in our program.
You know, as a head football coach in this day and age, you have to teach the kids so much more than just X's and O's. And I saw a tweet recently for an event you had for the football team. It was dinner etiquette night, I believe. And tell me why you thought this was necessary for your kids and how successful was it? I mean, do they know the difference between a dinner and a salad fork?
Well, our thing is that when you come to Wake Forest, it's not a 4-year decision, it's a 4-year decision. And we'll have first-round draft picks, Aaron Curry, Kevin Johnson. Those guys are doing great in the NFL, but the sell at Wake is how good the business school is, how good the undergraduate education is, the placement rate from the Office of Career and Personal Career Development. So if we're truly training these guys for life after football, we have to teach them more than how to bench press and run a 40-yard dash or how to walk a zone blitz. So we have an etiquette night that we teach our guys how to interview. That if their first interview after Wake Forest is a dinner interview, we want them to know how to put the napkin down, what fork is the salad fork, you know, where their bread is, where their water glass is, how to order food, how to cut a steak. And those are very important life skills that we feel it's important for our players to learn, as it is very important for them to learn how to rush the passer at a 3 technique or a 5 technique.
That's a cheat sheet. BD under the table. Bread.
And the other one was BMW.
Bread.
Meal, water.
There we go. I like that. There we go.
We like that too. And I would say yes, etiquette, and so much more than forks and spoons. During that particular etiquette dinner, we also talk about making a first impression, which includes handshake, and a whole host of nuances that truly are for life after the game. So why does this make sense? Well, we really have these 3 overlapping circles, personal, career, and professional. So this makes sense for us because we truly all touch on these different wheels, so to speak. Career development is important for every student, and so we want to be sure, just as athletics does, that career development is happening for our student athletes, that we're as committed to them as they are to us institutionally. Personal development, again, a very big part of what our office does, and this idea that it is not only about how to get your job, but then how to thrive once you're there, including benefits and budgets and all of those things. We as an office, just as I'm sure every office does, has timely programming. Indeed, there are times in the athletic calendar when it makes sense for us to go ahead and be sure that our student athletes are aware of what's also going on. There's a recruiting advantage here. I would say that when parents and players are making a choice between two different schools, to know that there is a commitment to the professional portion of a student beyond professional athleticism and professional athletic careers, that's an important piece in terms of institutional recruiting. First destination data is critical for every office like ours. And for us, first destination must include those student athletes. So of course, there's common interest and finally student engagement. We have a very lofty ambition to have 100% student engagement, and of course, that would include our student athletes. So just to pause for a moment, and I've got my handy little iPhone ready to roll, I'd like to go ahead and give you 30 seconds and just have you consider, wherever you're taking your notes right now, we'd like to pause and ask you, if you can, to go ahead and try to brainstorm for yourself right now. Who are the people that support the kind of work that you're doing? In what way do they provide support? And finally, what's their motivation to support your work? So we'll pause right here and go ahead, and if you'll jot down a couple of bullet points, we can go ahead and begin to help you develop a plan for yourself. All right, about 5 more seconds. If you want to go ahead and continue taking some notes, we are going to go ahead and transition.
So where we were, our work with the athletic department actually begins a number of years ago. One of the assistant athletic directors approached our office and observed that student athletes didn't really use our services at the same rate as other students. And we all know some of the reasons, right? Busy schedules, the degree to which their sport defines their identity, in some cases, a belief that life after the game means a career in professional sports, and so on. So our very first step was to move career coaching hours from our main office here in the OPCD to the Student Athlete Development Suite in the athletic department. What was the result? Well, we got some traffic. If we got 3 meetings in a 3-hour slot, that was a win. But we also had the opportunity to build relationships with athletic academic advisors and administrators. People got to know who we were and what our goals were. To be candid, we tried a few things, but we were using the old models. You come to a series of workshops, hey, you should go to the career fair, putting a flyer up in the hallway and the like. We did build up a steady flow of student athletes in appointments, but it didn't go a lot farther than that. When things started to move is when we started making some changes.
All right, so I'm going to take over. This is Ashley. I mentioned in the intro a little bit about my background, but I was a former student athlete at Wake Forest University, so I do understand the ins and outs and how tough this university can be. But I also understood the importance of taking advantage of our career office because I actually met with Patrick to review my resume as a senior. So anyways, as I graduated from Wake Forest, I was fortunate enough to go straight into the sports management side of the business, working for the ACC, working for Disney Sports, and then getting to work at the NCAA for 4.5 years. During my time at the NCAA, I was able to see what a lot of programs across the board, from Division I, II, and III, NAIA, you name it. I was able to see a lot of the good things that were happening, but I was also able to see some of the areas and pitfalls of certain athletic departments and areas that they weren't really tapping into. So my goal coming back to Wake Forest was that I didn't want to be seen as a community service hub. Your departments on campus could be called student athlete development, student athlete welfare, or maybe even the life skills office. I didn't want to be tagged as just the community service hub, but instead I wanted to make it known that we should be holistically developing our student athletes for a successful transition into and out of college. So that means we need to help them be prepared individuals who are ready and able to achieve their next desired step in life. So my first impression coming back, even though I was only 10 years removed from Wake, was that we were working with a different generation of student athletes. These athletes weren't looking me in the eye. They weren't shaking my hand properly. They would rather text me or IM me versus a face-to-face conversation. And none of them had their resumes ready until maybe a few weeks before graduation when they were scrounging and very nervous. And that was just not okay with me. So what I'm about to do is take you through a series of slides to really help you understand where we were and how we got to where we are now, because I really do think that the light kind of went on for us. So we're going to talk about building your bench, meeting them where they are, speaking the same language, and some low-hanging fruit. So let's start with building your bench. So like any national championship team, having the right bench is crucial. If you want to win, you got to have the right people on the bench. And you also are probably aware by now that the athletic world is in a bit of its own silo. So you have to really be intentional with these relationships. So building my championship bench, and I really started to consider who am I in contact with on a daily basis. So that's something that I would ask you all as well. Who are you in contact with on a daily basis? So without the support of the individuals that you see on your screen, it's going to be really hard to make progress happen. For starters, the academic services folks. These are your academic advisors. They have one-on-one meetings on a daily, and if not daily, a weekly basis with student athletes. They are also the people that are helping them to figure out what majors and minors they want to go into, and then also the classes that they should be taking. So they're a very, very influential group that you need to be in contact with. The coaches. Coaches, I would say, are the #1 influencers because what the coach says goes. But going back to some of the points that Heidi talked about, there are some key benefits that you can win your coaches over with. The athletics department multimedia group, this is a group that I started incorporating probably my second year or third year into this. Why not capture something great that's going on? I've had our multimedia department capture the moment when we've been on a career trek or at our career events. That way we can start to really promote our events. And I think that's worked out really well because also this day and age, everyone likes to see a video versus just an email. External funders, it's really important because the student athlete development department is not working with a large budget, but so to find those external funders. Student athlete development is in the center because we're kind of the foundational piece of this. Again, as I mentioned, our goal is to holistically develop them. So it is charged to us to build these relationships. The compliance department, again, making sure that we're being compliant with all NCAA rules, that we're not going outside of those limits. Faculty, you want to make sure that there's faculty out there that are supporting your student athletes in the busy schedules that they have and helping to be people that write letters of recommendation and promoting them in other ways. And then the college to career courses. This is something that Heidi teaches, and that was something that I recognized that if we could get more of our student athletes in these classes, that would be a huge win for us because we know they would be exposed. So these are the people that I built my bench around. So we want to take another pause break and give you about 30 seconds again to write down who some of your potential partners are. Who could be your championship bench? Who could you work with? What do they do in the athletic department or other resources on campus? And then why would they want to partner with you? All right, we have about 5 more seconds. All right, we know you still might be taking notes, so please feel free to continue, but we're going to continue to move on. So meeting them where they are at. As Patrick mentioned, the physical location is key. Step 1 would be to go where they are. And some of you may say, well, this is hand-holding, and maybe to a certain degree it is. But for a moment, just try to imagine how busy the day of a student athlete is. They start at 6 a.m. with weights, practice, training room. They have tutoring in addition to their actual class load as well. So pick a place where traffic is high and make yourself seen. It was very important for us that Patrick and Heidi be seen in these actual locations where student athletes are. The next thing would be attending team events. So what is pictured above is actually a Skype lounge in our women's basketball locker room. I partnered with Patrick and Heidi, and what we did is basically reached out to an alumni that has a very good reputation, LaChina Robinson, who's now in broadcasting. And we knew that we may not be the best people to actually convey a specific message to our women's basketball team. So we asked LaChina to convey a message about proper etiquette when you're meeting with employers, what they should wear, how they should shake hands, how many copies of their resume they should be printing off, and just that preparation, because we were also taking them on a local career trek to meet with an employer within that next week. So again, attending team events, and as Heidi mentioned too, these are a lot of the tailored events, that specific teams are indicating that they need. And as a student athlete development professional, I'm able to see the different needs that each of our teams are having. One team may be having problems with the things that their girls are posting on social media. Another team may be having some problems with just their personal etiquette. So as the professional and student athlete development, I'm able to kind of tailor these events and work with our Office of Personal and Career Development to make them. Getting in front of them early. I can't stress enough the importance of being seen early and often. So identify what this could look like from you. Are you a part of orientation? If not, should you be? Most athletic departments have freshman classes coming in. Could that be a potential area that you could work with your athletic department on? So I'm going to hand this over to Patrick. Patrick, we have worked really hard at speaking the same language, and I think it's been really critical for our partnership. Do you want to take over and share some of our wins here?
Agreed. A few years ago, I recognized that the athletic department, across the department and across the teams, was beginning to use language around developing champions. So I started using the same language during career development discussions with student athletes in presentations, in one-on-one discussions. And I had the opportunity to speak to all of the athletic academic advisors to describe in detail about the work that the OPCD was doing, how I could support and the OPCD could support the athletic academic advisors in their work. And I made it a point to build community with these folks, to just stay in touch with them, get to know them. As a result, they were more likely to refer their students to me when they had questions. We also made it a point to recognize some of our wins. Not long ago, Ashley and I had the opportunity to speak to all of the coaches and head coaches in a required monthly coaching meeting. Again, we described the work that we were doing, used the same language to describe our shared goals, and shared a story about a former women's basketball player, now playing in the WNBA, who took part in one of Heidi's classes and really had the information stick. She ended up advising her teammate on how to present herself for a human resources internship, and that's exactly the sort of thing that we are all trying to achieve. So Ashley's exactly right. The fact that we are able to speak the same language, that we are actively seeking out those opportunities, really does make a difference in this partnership.
And to add to that, I would just say that the Office of Personal and Career Development, in particular Heidi and Patrick, have really taken me under their wing, and so much of the training that they give their own career coaches, they are also more than willing to give me as well. Just again, kind of piggybacking off of that idea of speaking the same language, I also want to be able to review a resume and give similar, if not the same, feedback that their office would give, and the same thing for, elevator pitches and helping them to articulate those skills from their sport into their resume and whatnot.
Ashley's absolutely right. The truth is that we think of Ashley and the Student Athlete Development Office as something of an extension of our office. And I think the same is also true about student athlete development. They think of Heidi and I and our colleagues here in the OPCD as an extension of their office. We really are all working towards the same goal.
Correct. Okay, so moving along, let's go to the low-hanging fruit. What are you already doing without creating something new? Because it's likely that your athletic department is already doing some things that you could just jump on in with. For us in the athletic department, the freshman transition classes is a really easy win. This is a time and a place that is set out to introduce our freshmen to campus partners and really set the foundation for them, again, trying to successfully transition them from high school life into college life. So again, it's an early and often approach, and we want the OPCD to be like any other employee in athletics, so why not introduce them at this crucial meeting with our freshmen so they know their faces early on. Winter break. Winter break is a wonderful time, especially for your men's and women's basketball programs. A lot of times their director of operations, the DOBO, is looking for time fillers because most often your athletes have to stay in hotels during the break. And so this is an optimal time to do resume workshops in local career treks like we showed you, and even the Skype lounges. Being that the university doesn't completely shut down and athletics continues, there is a little bit of a break there where it's a great time to get them before they are off and running to their next game. Compliance meetings. I think I mentioned compliance being a part of my championship bench, but compliance meetings. The compliance team has a beginning of the year meeting. Every athletic department, every student athlete has to go through a compliance meeting. This is also an easy win because they're going to have them, so why not ask if you can introduce yourself at the beginning of these meetings? As a student athlete development professional, I always introduce myself at the beginning and talk about my programming. At that time is when it's really good to have Patrick or Heidi or a career coach from our office alongside with me to say, hi, this is who I am and this is what we represent. Come by our office. Office hours. So again, the world of athletics is not a 9-to-5 job. So oftentimes we have to alter our office hours. So that's something that this office has been really great about doing. But again, kind of meeting them where they're at and the optimal times that the student athletes are really frequently visiting the study hall areas. And lastly, the low-hanging fruit is summer school. As of right now, this summer, we're going to have almost 3/4 of our student athletes here. So why not take advantage of this time? Again, most of them are just here taking 1 or 2 classes and working out. This is a great time, again, to have some of our etiquette dinners, one-on-one meetings where they can get some career coaching, and even talking about the importance of job shadowing, summer internships, and trying to connect them with different folks within the community. Another pause break. We want you all to think about what are the low-hanging fruit that you have that is currently existing. Who could you work with? In what ways might you collaborate with them? And are there ways in which you could generate more support? For instance, could you be sitting down with administrators or coaches to generate more support and just having those one-on-one meetings to explain what your office is doing? All right, 30 seconds.
You've got about 5 more seconds. You may be jotting down a few different ideas, and feel free to continue doing that while we advance just a little farther down the road here. So, what I hope you hear, and probably our overarching message, is this intentionality. So we shared with you where we've been and some different highlights of this partnership. What we'd like you to understand is sort of how this has played out and what it looks like because of this intentional partnership. So one of the pieces that we think about are these tailored events. So given the fact that the student athlete has a unique platform within the university, tailored events just make sense. It's helpful to do that for the coach. It shows your partner in the athletic department that you are listening and are paying attention to the experience of the student athlete. As an example, for men's basketball, we had an elevator pitch opportunity and workshop, and it happened to be that a former professional scout came in and highlighted the importance of having a pitch so that your brand is clear if you are thinking about a professional career. Recruiting. This recruiting piece is two-sided. So on the one side, recruiting of student athletes is very real. Competition is very real for student athlete and student athlete talent. And so having this partnership between the Office of Personal and Career Development and the Department of Athletics is very interesting for both families and for the student athletes themselves. The other layer in recruiting is that we actually have student-athlete specific postings or things that might be of particular interest to student-athletes. We are able to go ahead and, because of this partnership, the person in charge of our employer relations can tag Ashley and say, Ashley, who can you think of on your side of the house who might be interested in this particular opportunity? Handshake. Handshake is our platform that we use to go ahead and share recruiting opportunities for students. For our student athletes, we're able to tag them in that system so that if there is something that might go specifically to them, we can be sure that that is funneled directly to their inbox. Relationships. So Patrick and I are very intentional about being at athletic events, be they actual on the field or on the court events, or the events that occur because of celebrations. For example, after graduation, there is a student-athlete reception. We go to that. There are opportunities when there are different pieces that our celebration, Ashley puts on the black and golden globes, we go to that because we want them to know that we are the ally of not only student-athletes, but also of their department. Experiential learning, this has been a huge win. So we have career treks, which are experiential learning opportunities for all students. We have had student athletes go on treks, but even more interesting, Ashley has led treks that coincided with the team's travel schedule. For example, women's tennis had a career trek in New York because that happened to coincide with their season. So this opportunity for student athletes to go ahead and have something very much in the pattern of career services, but definitely tailored to their own unique experience. We do have academic courses. We have 5 college to career courses, and what is fabulous is that student athletes have that time carved into their academic schedule to check some of the boxes that other students would check during their free time. Social media, personal branding, and dining etiquette, we have tailored those particular workshops to student athletes and have many teams who are asking for those different unique workshops depending on their team need. And then finally, professional documents. At our student athlete career night, a resume is required. That is a unique piece that Ashley has tied in. It lets us work with student athletes to be sure those resumes are tuned up. And then on another even deeper level, it lets student athletes have this sense of quantifying their own student athlete experience from a professional lens.
We've been able to talk about the foundation we laid and the work that we've done. We touched on where we were. Why does it matter? It matters because it moves us to where we are now. The fact that this kind of collaboration and this kind of emphasis on career development from both of our operations provides real benefits to our students and to our institution.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about our student athlete benefits, which are so many. we have really, again, over the past 5 years or so, seen a complete culture change. And I think the student athletes are starting to understand the benefit that they have if they take advantage of this. So the first thing, the benefit for the coach is the biggest influencer, and what he or she says goes. If you can get that coach on board, similar to what our football coach was mentioning, not only is it a great recruiting tool, but to have the coaches on board saying to their student athletes, yes, you will be participating in the career night, and yes, resumes are due, that's a big, big benefit for your student athletes. So they know that they're being taken care of, not just on the field, but they're being prepared for life after the game. The next thing, stats from job applications and career appointments. You need to be very strategic in what you make mandatory. We now have, as Heidi has mentioned, our annual career fair that is for our student athletes. And this ensures that 100% of our student athletes are being exposed to some sort of career readiness and networking opportunity. That's huge. That is a mandatory event that our athletic director has said, yes, we value this and think it's important. But additionally to that, I mean, as of recently, at least a third of our student athletes, so that's over 100 of our student athletes, have met with a career coach in our Office of Personal and Career Development. So that's a huge stat that we're able to put forward as a win. Again, all student athletes have to have a resume. We start as early as freshman year because we believe even if they're starting with a template and they're adding some of the basics, they're adding community service that they've done. They're adding any leadership roles that they've been a part of. If they're going to be joining SAC, the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, if they're a part of any fraternity or sorority or anything that they're doing, we want them to capture this. And then as they progress throughout their 4 years, hopefully we are putting job shadowing opportunities, internship opportunities. But at this point in time, every Wake Forest student athlete is required to have a resume at our February career event. And those that do not turn one in, a coach gets a list of those who are not turned in, and then they are required to follow up with me. The number of employers at the Student Athlete Career Night. Our first year, Patrick, I think we started at about 10 employers, and now we're up to 35 to 40. And it's been a really great partnership that we've built with our Office of Employer Relations. Let the experts be the experts in their fields. And I feel like our campus has a great Office of Employer Relations, and they're the ones that are in daily contact with employers. Also our development team, so the fundraising team that's always working with alumni and donors. There's some great potential employers out there, so we hope to continue to raise that number. And also we hope to progress the event and just thinking about the needs. We have to adapt every year. This next year we'll be adding in a component of offering the majors and minors fair. So that's, again, a partnership with our Student Athlete Services in hopes that we can, again, tailor the event so there's something for everyone, including our freshmen and sophomores. Heidi, you want to talk about grants?
I do. Thank you. One of the things that I love thinking about is this idea that students have an opportunity to go ahead and get access to funds, giving them some equity to go ahead and purchase things that they need to present themselves as a young professional. We have a special fund for that that's available to all students. And for student athletes, when they have an academic need, can apply for this very same grant. So if they have a need, for example, during a job shadow to have a suit, they can apply for this grant and get it. If they need a portfolio or they need other kinds of professional supplies or tools, they can go ahead and apply for that.
And Heidi, can I just interrupt quickly to help them understand too? Again, that is one more reason why your compliance office needs to be one of your key partners. Because this is offered to all students, and not just specifically to student athletes, you are able to move forward with getting the grants. So from an NCAA perspective, that's something that you as career professionals could pitch to your athletic department.
And very important to go ahead and do that just so that it is very transparent and understood by everyone. I think that's great, Ashley. One of the other things that is happening is that more student athletes are actually in the college courses. College and career courses, and that is exciting too. I mentioned this earlier, but truly for all students, but especially student athletes, what is on the syllabus gets done. And so if it is on the syllabus that you have to not only create a cover letter but have it checked in the Office of Personal and Career Development, by George, it gets done. And so that is a very exciting thing, because in a very full student-athlete experience, having that kind of accountability that is academic is critical.
Sure, and so the last one that I wanted to speak on has been a really key benefit for us and for our student-athletes. So most life skills student-athlete development budgets across the nation are very slim, and we are tagged with trying to be resourceful and finding creative ways to enhance our events. This is the time that I reached out to our development department to say, I have all these grandiose ideas, but in order to actually get them done, we are going to need some funding. So that's when we reached out to a Legacy Federal Credit Union, which right now is our key title sponsor for our career-related activities and events. And the partnership with the Legacy has allowed us to move our career event to our basketball coliseum because it is becoming so popular. Employers are calling us now because they want to be a part of it. We're not having to tag to go out and try to find them, but they're actually finding us because they want to be a part of it. But also the sponsorship that a Legacy is providing allows us to do a dinner prior to the career event, and this is a prime time, again, that we can use the services of our career office to talk through etiquette and the way you present yourself and whatnot. So again, being that this is a mandatory event and that all student-athletes are exposed, it is really key that we found a sponsor that can help support all the ideas, I guess, that we've had to move forward.
We talked about the benefit to the student-athlete, and what we hope you see here is that what is good for the student-athlete, academic life, and well-being is also very good for the institution. So sort of highlighting some of the things at a high level that are important to notice or to surface as a benefit for the institution is that recruiting is increased. We talked about increased competition for student-athlete talent. Indeed, we see people being recruited out of middle school. We want to have our athletic department to have the advantage too, and being able to ensure a family that we are not only supporting every step that takes place on a field, but we want to support a step into a professional life that may include a suit or a very different kind of portfolio of work. We want to be that part. Other institutional benefits, career building, helping with this intentional partnership, having student-athletes begin to build their career, whatever that may look like, early in their experience is helpful to the institution. It helps to ensure that all of our students, including our student-athletes, build lives of meaning. We have satisfied parents. There is really nothing more engaging to a parent than to know that their child will be supported as a whole person, and especially for the parents of student-athletes who may fear that their students are being only supported for their athletic ability. To know that there's a career support to that is good for the institution. Often student-athletes are most at risk either for not completing their degree and or not having outcomes. Going ahead and making sure that we have opportunities to support that whole student-athlete, the whole person, is critical. Development opportunities. We have many donors who are very interested, so perhaps they were student-athletes themselves. They want to go ahead and support any kind of an initiative that supports our critical transition of student-athletes into their professional roles. And then, of course, all of these things we're talking about meet the NCAA leadership or life after the game requirement. So this just makes sense as an institutional benefit that we are making sure that that is covered. And finally, satisfied alumni. So having this partnership between the Department of Athletics and career development actually enhances and increases the engagement of our alumni. So overall, big picture piece for the institution as well. And so we talk about this 30,000-foot view and institutional benefits. There might be something that's just even bigger, a bigger part of what this looks like, not only to the institution, but in the endeavor of educating the whole person. So when we think about how co-curricular and curricular pieces come together, we have this wonderful opportunity to show you what it looks like when student athletes have this kind of support. So engaged student athletes go ahead and participate in etiquette dinners, in curricular opportunities to grow as young professionals. And what do? Student athletes give back.
Today we have 8th middle school, 8th grade boys here right now for an etiquette dinner. They're teaching how to sit down, have a nice business dinner with everybody to avoid sports, how to have that etiquette when they're trying to get in front of professional people.
I still get goosebumps when we watch that video. All of those players, all of those student athletes, not only did they complete that etiquette dinner for those middle school students from a local middle school, they took their notes with them because they wanted to take their notes back so they could complete an etiquette dinner in their hometowns. So we end on that to tell you that we started at the beginning with ESPN and now showing you what that looks like actually here on the ground when this partnership comes together. We're going to take that moment again. You may be thinking, yes, this woman definitely spent some time in the classroom. I'm asking you to take notes, teasing, but I really do want you to have an opportunity while this information is fresh in your brain to go ahead and let's just pause for a moment. And let's see if somewhere in your notes, just capturing this information for you, we're heading into the summer. It's a great time for us to go ahead and think about what we want next year to look like. So for you, who are your partners? What are the resources that you may want to gather to address the needs and the interests of your student athletes? Is there a partnership that is awaiting you on your campus? And then finally, is there an action step that you could take that would help move you toward your goal? So we'll pause right now and give you an opportunity just to begin to brainstorm for yourself and capture these ideas while the information is fresh. You might be finishing a couple of thoughts. While you do that, what I'd like to do first is just say what an honor it is to be in a partnership that looks like this. We're excited by the things that we have been able to witness and to watch, and we would be excited to hear the kinds of things that you may come up with, the kinds of goals that may be coming to mind for you right now. For us, what we'd like to do is to invite you, if you have any questions that we can go ahead and answer for you or things that we might be able to discuss here that might be important for others, we'd ask you to submit through the chat feature. Chelsea, our facilitator, will pose those questions for us, and we can go ahead and start to think about if there are any things that you may want to suggest to us. There might be some great discussion or things that are happening on your campus that we could learn from as well. So during this time, we'll open the floor and let those questions come in.
This is just a reminder to please use the chat feature. The QA feature is not seen by all. Please use the chat feature. You guys have a first one. It says, can you tell us more about career treks?
Career treks, sure. Lana, should we go ahead and...
you guys talk and then I can talk how I've
Perfect. How we've come on.
Yeah.
So part of what so our office with employer relations has a series of different career, they're visits. We call them a career track, but they are visits where we take students two key or target markets which our students have identified as key markets for themselves. Charlotte, New York, DC, Boston, we've done a Connect event there, not a specific track, at Silicon Valley. Those are some of the hot ones for us, and so students apply, and student athletes can apply as well and go on those tracks. And then we go through a series of employers, and we visit alumni in their places of business, and students get a firsthand look at the inside of those careers and also at those different companies.
Most often these career treks occur during winter break when we know student athletes are, many student athletes, not all, but many are more likely to have time available to go to these events. And in some instances, we've been able to talk with a coach or an assistant coach to explain the benefit of this kind of event and to ensure that they give their student a little bit of freedom with regards to training and practice so that they can go on these events. And then the benefit all around is the student comes back from the career trek and is somebody who influences their team in the future. So Heidi and I have talked about the sort of university-wide career treks, which our student athletes are able to take advantage of.
Yeah, and this is Ashley from athletics. I will go ahead and take over from the athletics side. So one, I would encourage you to go on YouTube and just search Wake Forest Women's Tennis Career Trek. So you can see a nice video highlight of our experience in New York City. But from my perspective, I saw that our career office was hosting these fabulous opportunities, yet I didn't feel like there were enough student athletes that could take advantage of the opportunity, even though we had 3, 4 here and there that were able to attend. So what I did is I tried to tailor that to our student athlete schedules. I went ahead and found a coach that was excited about an opportunity. I looked with him at his schedule, and it just so happened that they were going to be playing Princeton and Yale, and they were going to be in the New York area. And so on one of their off days, we decided to reach out to Wake Forest alumni that are in New York that are, having successful careers, and we took them on a career trek. And so the exposure that we got on that visit was amazing, but I would also speak to the relationships that were built because now that I've built that relationship with our women's tennis program, it's amazing how that 1.5-day experience, now they're in my door all the time asking me questions about helping them with their resume, and so they are starting to, again, be more intentional with the questions that they're asking. And on the front side of that event, myself and Patrick met with the team for an hour, and we did a little bit of a resume workshop and taught them, we were talking to them about researching the employers that they would be visiting with and making sure that they were prepared for what we were about to do. So we didn't want them going into this blindsided and not having questions prepared or whatnot. So overall, it was a huge win, and I would definitely encourage you to watch the video so you can see a highlight of how it benefits our women's tennis program.
I would say that the track is, just sort of to echo what both Ashley and Patrick are saying, is from an educational perspective for the student athlete, it is high impact. And it is one of those transformational experiences when you may think that career is a far off construct that you don't really have a tangible view of. To go on a career trek like our women's tennis team did, or on our career treks that are sort of our original template for this experience, students come away from thinking of career as something that's not inspiring to coming back and being transformed into excited and engaged with their own career. And I think that's probably one of the best parts of the career trek for student athletes in particular who may be very engaged in their own sport and academic life.
Yes. Are there other questions?
Yes, just a warning, you have about 10 minutes left. As a follow-up to the career treks question, are the destinations for career treks in various industries?
So from an athletic standpoint, what I did is I took all of the majors and minors from our women's tennis program, and granted that is a smaller population, but I wanted to see if there was a way that we could find someone alumni related that could represent each of the majors or minors that our women's tennis program had. So Fortunately for us, we were able to fulfill that, and so everyone that was participating in the career track was able to have a really productive and educational experience.
And for the most part, career treks are driven by the career interests that students have expressed when interacting with our office. So we're asking them for their feedback on their geography of interest, their industry or job function of interest, and we're trying to respond to that by planning and programming these career treks. We have also had some success building and delivering career treks for very specific academic departments. We've done so with the theater and performing arts departments recently.
And to the industry piece, just as a for example, we'll be in, about 2 weeks going to DC with a group of students looking at consulting. So yes, building them around both the geographic but also industry specific.
Great. Can you share with the group what amount the sponsorship was from a legacy? If not, it's okay, but does it support all of the efforts, or did you fundraise from other avenues as well?
So yeah, I'm happy to share with you that a legacy provides $15,000 to us, which anyone that works with any sort of catering knows that catering is not cheap. So thankfully, a legacy is able to help provide the meal that we give them, as well as some of the branding, because we really want to make sure our event is branded from top to bottom. I will say, though, that it is something that we are continuing to try to get sponsorship on. We have found a recent sponsor for our football etiquette dinner. Again, that's 100 student athletes that we're trying to feed at a nice restaurant. So it is important that, again, that championship bench, that I am continually having conversations with our fundraising department, what we call our development department, and working on ways to try to solicit those sponsorships because, again, the student athlete development budget is very, very slim. But between the Office of Personal and Career Development and a lot of the people that they are in touch with, as well as our fundraising department, there's a lot of potential people out there that really want to know they're helping student athletes who, again, are really the most at-risk students on campus, and they want to know that they're making a difference.
Great. We have another question, if you can share any first destination outcomes.
So we can certainly speak to, I can speak to the process generally. So as Ashley mentioned, we have an interest in capturing first destinations on our student athletes as well, and the relationship that we've built is beneficial in capturing that information. Ashley understands exactly why our office and the school is interested in capturing that first destination data, and she's very much our partner in the process of collecting that data. Ashley and her team in specific are very proactive about reaching out to coaches, assistant coaches, and athletic academic advisors to ask, do you know where this specific student has gone post-graduation? We are also able to build on the relationships that Ashley and her colleagues have with the students through the year so that they, and sometimes we, can go directly to that student. And in all cases, we are doing our very best to capture that information in a single central location, which for us is in our handshake system. We are able to capture first destination data about our student athletes at a rate just about exactly equal to the rest of the student population, and that is very much thanks to the collaboration we have with our athletic department, with student athlete development, and with the coaches and influencers in the athletic department.
Speaking of your system, Patrick, we have a question wondering specifically how you track student athlete data within your system.
So our system allows us, as many of you might do, we feed basic demographic information in from our student information system, in our case it's Banner, into the system we use, primarily using the OPCD, which is Handshake, and then we tag every student with every student athlete with a label that says student athlete, in your student athlete 17, 18, student athlete 18, 19. So we can see how many student athletes have attended an event over the course of a year, how many student athletes have taken part in a one-on-one appointment. We also, on a related note, we also tag students that have gone on career tracks or taken part in classes, the career development classes that Heidi teaches, so that, again, we can see the ways in which student athletes are engaging in things like personal, career, and professional development on our campus.
Great. We just have a few more minutes left, and as a reminder, please submit those questions through the chat feature so we don't get to all of them. That's why we can collect them, and this team will follow up with you afterwards. We do have a question about grant funding. Are the grants funding from within the university or outside companies and agencies?
Oh, the grants, with the professional development grants, that's what I'm guessing that question is about. We had a donor who gave us a sizable gift with the idea that we could use that to sort of level the playing field, if you will, to provide opportunity and equity. And so that particular fund is run alongside the group that handles experiential learning. So the grants can be used, so it is from a private donor. Students apply for these different grants. There are stipends for unpaid internships, and then there are also professional development grants that can be used for a host of different things related to suiting up, if you will, since we're talking about student athletes, for the professional world.
Great. And we do have a couple folks asking if you would be willing to share your list of companies that come to your career night.
I don't know that our employer relations office oversees that, and again, many of the relationships are built between the employer relations office, so I don't know that we would be able to share that information, but I do think there are a slew of companies out there that heavily recruit student athletes, which I'm sure if you were to talk with your own employer relations office could find out who those specifically are. I'm sorry.
And I would add that there are some companies that have very structured programs that are specifically for student athletes. The first one that comes to mind for me is Nike, who has its own special portal for NCAA athletes to apply for any Nike job that is totally separate from the one that is for regular applicants. So that might be a Google search to start, in my mind, about the structured student athlete hiring programs, because there are several that are out there.
Great. I don't see that any new questions have come in, but if I capture any more in the system, I will distribute those to the team after the call.
Great. Thank you so much, Chelsea, and thank you to everybody who tuned in with us. That was fun.
Thank you all. Have a great day.